Hey guys, remember that time the director of the Mummy remake made a box office bomb about a giant monster octopus that may or may not have been a prequel to a King Kong remake that was never made? Yeah, I'll get into that part later. This is Deep Rising. The premise of Deep Rising is a very simple one. A group of what I guess are supposed to be mercenaries hire a boat captain played by Treat Williams to take them out into the ocean, blow up the world's most expensive cruise ship so that the ship's owners can collect all that sweet insurance fraud money, baby! But before any of this can happen, a mysterious unknown monster rises deep from the bottom of the ocean and attacks the cruise ship first.
That's a 10.
I love when the random dude just slips on what looks like nothing, but for some reason his audio sticks out more than anything else in the scene. When it comes to a leading man in an action/horror movie, the last person who comes to mind is Treat Williams of all people, but honestly, the dude rocks it. He's great in this movie. I couldn't help but compare his dialogue and mannerisms to, say, Nathan Drake from Uncharted, who was himself inspired heavily by Indiana Jones. So basically, Treat is playing Indiana Jones, and as enjoyable as Treat is in Deep Rising, I couldn't help but wish Harrison Ford was in the role, only to look it up and realize that it was in fact supposed to originally be Harrison Ford, but he turned it down.
How we doing out there, Layla?
Fuck you! How you doing, Layla? I'm totally soaked out here!
Oh, come on now, I pay you $2 a day, don't I?
Get off your lazy ass and come and help me!
Cut me some slack, will you? I'm working hard too, you know.
Hey, if you're ever having a bad day, just think, at least you didn't get Finding Nemo down a toilet pipe ass first by a tentacle monster. Now that's a bad day. This movie has a pretty solid cast, all things considered. A lot of these guys weren't huge names at the time, but now they're in all kinds of stuff. You got Cliff Curtis from The Meg and Fear the Walking Dead, Discount Nick Nolte, Jaimin Hansu, and Discount Colin Farrell, plus Famke Janssen, whose name I had to Google to figure out the proper pronunciation of, and apparently I've been saying it wrong my entire life. I mean, none of them are particularly interesting, and all of them are assholes, but they're entertaining, and that's what counts.
We got blood here. We got blood here too, mate.
Blood. Hope this is not Chris's blood.
Anyway, let's get to the monster, because why the hell else would we be watching Deep Rising if not for the monster? The tentacles don't actually make an appearance until about the hour mark, and when they do, I mean, yeah, it's 90s CGI. What the hell are you gonna do? You know, it's dated, whatever. They kind of remind me of graboid tongues, but a hell of a lot uglier. One moment in particular, though, man, when I tell you this scene scared the absolute shit out of me, I am not joking. They shoot open one of the tentacles, and one of the mercenaries falls out onto the floor and just... Jesus Christ, dude. Even with the dated CGI, it's still pretty fucking horrifying. Seeing this as a 6-year-old in 1998? Bruh.
Money, 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 money.
Can't Shazam your way out of that one. There's gonna be some spoilers ahead in case you haven't seen a movie that's, what, 22 years old now? Jesus Christ, this is really 22 years old. Turns out the tentacles aren't a bunch of monsters infesting the ship, but rather just the arms of one massive behemoth, and as dated as it looks, the reveal is just badass. God damn, that's awesome. I just really wish it had more screen time and looked more real, but still, good lord. Again, massive spoilers coming for the ending because I just have to mention the movie's big reveal in order to get this point across. So after one of the coolest looking practical miniature explosions I've ever seen, our heroes end up stranded on some random island, and just when you think they're all good...
This looks like a nice enough place.
Now, I haven't seen it officially confirmed anywhere, but I've seen multiple credible sources online mention it. Apparently, this island is supposed to be none other than Skull Island, and that roar is presumably King Kong. Basically, the movie's director, Steven Sommers, was pushing really hard to make a Kong remake back in the 90s, with this movie taking place in the same universe acting as almost a quasi-prequel. And considering there were actually attempts and plans for a King Kong movie in the 90s from Universal, it adds a bit more weight to the claim. Would Sommers' remake of Kong star the same cast as Deep Rising? Who knows? But it's cool to think about. When Deep Rising came out, it only ended up making about $11 million on a $45 million budget, so it bombed pretty hard. It's far from being the greatest motion picture ever made, but I genuinely think it's really underrated as far as monster movies go, especially if you're already a fan of this kind of genre film. Aside from dated CGI and some really dated CGI, God, this thing really could have benefited from just some practical effects. It's a really entertaining, stupid, higher budget B-movie that doesn't try to be anything more than what it is.
Play the movie. I want you to smile.